Welcome to the YT-1300 Millennium Falcon build guide. I'm going to very precisely and relatively quickly explain to you on how to build this magnificent mod and ship, originally uploaded to Nexus by Electionize. However, on creations, we'll note that Bill Jones has done the port from Nexus to the creations. I'll tell you what, this is one incredible mod that really brings the Millennium Falcon into our shipyard. And the excellent thing about this mod is that it has livable habs and it's a fully functional ship. So you can really make this your daily. And it has some weapons as well, and you won't be disappointed. This thing moves so quick and is one hell of a ship. Now, the incredible thing about this is that this was all done without the creation kit. So imagine what is to come. And with that out of the way, we'll get into it. We'll just quickly touch base on the load order. So on creations, this mod is called the Millennium Falcon Star Wars ACSO. Now, it does have a prerequisite for this mod to work. You'll need the ship building tweaks by Evansy, which you'll find on creations as well. However, do note, if you already have mods installed that remove a lot of the restrictions of objects overlapping within your builder, you probably won't need this. So if you have a lot of ship mods that are already tweaking some of these settings and you're finding that this isn't working when you're trying to load into Starfield with both of these mod on, consider turning the shipbuilding tweaks off. However, for majority of you, I would stick to just using this. But keep in mind, for me, I do not need this mod as I have other ship mods that do the same thing basically. However, you would download this mod, and it's super critical that you put the shipbuilding tweaks basically in the last position in your load order. Make sure any of the related Star Wars ship mods sit above. I also have the N1 Starfighter installed, and much further up I have the YT-1300 Millennium Falcon 1997 installed, noting that they are both above the shipbuilding tweak. Make sure that you restart your PC or Xbox or the game after installing these mods to allow for the INI files to load correctly. If you have any issues or problems, let me know in the comments. I'll try to assist where I can. With that out of the way, let's get into it. So to start your build, we will need to have a ship of some kind. So buy a cheap one or a ship you don't want. You want to select all the components and delete them. So we're going to start fresh. Now for this build, we need to start off with building the habs. So do note, you can use any kind of habs. You don't even have to use the same, 2x2, 2x1. All you have to do is ensure that the end result is the same shape as what we're about to go through. As long as you have that shape, you'll be fine. So any habs will do. So I'm going to use a combination of the Crimson Fleet habs as well as some Nova. Now, in terms of which habs you use, it will be up to you. But for me, I'm going to go the Nova Galactic Battle Station 2x2. And you're going to need a 3x1 hab. So for this, I'm going to try a custom-made Crimson Fleet 3x1. Now note, what is extremely important is to pay attention to the port side, the aft, which is the back of the ship, the fore, which is the front, and the starboard, which is the right. So be mindful of exactly where these are going in relation to those four indicators. I'll try highlight specifically where to place it just to make it easier. For instance, in this particular position, we want the extra space at the back of the ship where we're going to add 2 1x1. So I'm going to use the Crimson Fleet storeroom. I'm going to build 2 of those. Then I'm going to duplicate it again and move 1 to the front of the ship or to the fore of the ship. So this is what you should have. 3x1 on the left, 2 singles at the back, 1 single at the front, connected closer to the 3x1. So now that you have it looking like this, let's go to add, and we need to go to habs again. This time we need to select a very special component. So the next component we want to build is in your habs. It is the YT-1300 3x1 hab front invisible. So click that. Now this is a nice simple placement. It just sticks right at the front there. So it should look like this right at your fore. Next module is another hab. So in your hab category, this time it is the YT-1300 1x1 hab side invisible. For this module's placement, we are heading to the back of the ship on the port side. And for this, we need to scoot under the ship, select our piece. So we want to snap it to the door and it'll sit just like this. So there it is, just so you can get a good look. And again, so it's sitting right under here. We need to place the same component again. So you have the option to duplicate it. And this time we're connecting it to the piece we just placed down. So see how we have the door pushed way out? We're going to connect this so it connects to that. So it snaps at that point. So you shouldn't really be able to snap with anything else. It will look a little bit funny. It will be floating depending on your angle. And that is just the same component. So the 1x1 hab side, which you'll find in your habs. Next, we need to navigate to our structural tab. Here we are in the structure structural tab. And within this structural tab, we need to click on the horizon weapon mount. And for these, we want to connect one on the port side on the 3x1. We want to duplicate that, flip it, and then connect one on directly on the starboard side. So you'll see here, one starboard, one port side. After that, we need to go back into our structural tab, scroll down until we find the equipment plate. We need to place 3 of these in this instance, and they're all going to be sitting in alignment across from port to starboard. So 3 placed in these snap points. Keep in mind, this is the front, the back. So these are facing on the front of the ship. So after placing the weapon mounts, now we're going to attach some weapons. We're going to attach one Obliterator 250 MeV Alpha Beam, which should be located at the bottom of your weapon category tab. And for its placement, we want to place it on the starboard side and mount it to the bottom connection. So it'll sit like this. Now, in theory, you could pick a different weapon. Keep in mind, if you use something like an auto turret, it's going to look weird and flip and potentially not work. So stick to something similar is probably a good option. Now, for the other weapon we're going to mount, we're going to attach the Atlatl 280C missile launcher. We're going to mount it to the bottom. So you'll have the 2 weapons both mounted to the bottom. You can probably get away with choosing a different missile launcher if you'd like. Do note that your weapons may look different to mine just because I have a retextured mod on. We're going to connect the landing bay next, which will be on your starboard side in your builder. You want to navigate to your bay category tab, and we want to build the YT-1300 bay. And you want to connect it to the very, you can see the snapping point there. We want to connect it to the back. So it's going to look a little strange, but snapping it there, it will sit kind of in the middle between the 2 doors. Next, we're going to add landing gear to the front. So in your builder, navigate to your gear tab. You'll have the option of dual or single. For the YT-1300, we're going to go the single. So for the first landing gear, we're going to attach it just at the front. Then we're going to duplicate and attach to the other 2 front halves. So it will look strange how they're all floating, but it will make sense later. But just to give you an underneath look, here it is. So they're snapping to that point, to this point, and to this point. Now we're going to add the dual landing gear. So back to your gear tab, this time selecting the dual lander for the YT-1300. This time we're connecting them to the back. We're just connecting to the 2 back halves. So we'll sit right there, connecting to that hub. It will look a little strange. You will duplicate, go across, and it will connect it to the hub on the other side. This is what it'll look like with the landing gear. 3 single at the front, 2 at the back. And here is where everything starts looking as it should. So we're going to navigate through the structure tab to attach the fuselage. The structural tab, Millennium Falcon fuselage. Now we want to align the middle of the ship with this plate right here. So that looks pretty perfect. So we'll go up and it should snap. So I'll just show you again. So we're aligning the middle of core of the ship, hovering it over the center of that plate and snapping. And depending on your angle, it should perfectly align with the circle. Now it's starting to take shape. So now we can start adding the major components. So we'll start off with the reactor. In your reactor tab, look for the YT-1300 Quad X power core. Click that. Now this sits on the port side right here. So as you can see, so a nice easy one to snap there. Next we'll add the grav drive. In your grav drive tab, look for the YT-1300 class hyperdrive, and just like the reactor, this will sit in the same position on the opposite side, on your starboard side. Navigate to your fuel tank tab, go to your YT-1300 fuel tank that is on the fore of the ship, connected just like the other components. It's nicely just there. Next we're going to connect the shield. Go to your shield tab, select your YT-300 Nordoxicon 38 shield projector. The shield looks like this, and it sits right on top of this space right here, the front of the ship. Next, we're going to connect the satellite dish. Head to your equipment tab, select the YT-1300 scan jammer, and we all know where this one goes, just right here. Doesn't it look freaking wild? That's it. Getting there. Doesn't that look awesome? Now, next we need to add the docker. Head to your docker category. We have the YT-1300 docker starborn. So we're on the port side, so we want to make sure we head over to the starborn side. Grab your docker, and we want to try align it with this part of the ship, almost aligning it with the landing bay. You'll see it snap. I'll just show you from a different angle. So align it with your landing gear and pop it right there. Should snap, no worries. Next, we're going to add some weapons. Navigate to your weapons tab. We'll start with the top YT-1300 quad laser cannon. Grab that and throw it in the middle of your ship. Should snap nice and easy. Next, we'll want to add the bottom quad laser. Goes in the same position, but just under the ship. So the snapping point is further into the ship, so you'll need to go quite close, and then it should snap like that. So it'll look a little bit funny, but once you get close, it will snap. We'll add the cockpit, which we all know where that will go. So we'll head to the cockpit tab, Millennium Falcon cockpit. We'll snap that right to the front here. Nice, easy snap. We need to add the engines. So navigate to your engines tab, select the sublight engine. This you can sort of just hover over the end there and then just drop it in, and it should sort of stick out and look like that. From here, we're so close. If you want to recolor it, we can just grab the of the fuselage. Make sure it's selected, hit color. So be mindful, color 1 is going to change the color of the whole body. Color 2 will change and detail a few more of the front modules. And color 3 will specifically target part that's already colored. And for that, we can just try and make it a bit more red if we want. So probably maybe a bit darker or lighter depending on what you're after. For me, I'm going to set it to something like a little bit darker. Yeah, maybe something like that would be perfect. Do note you can color the other individual pieces as well. And you can do them all at the same time. Just click them, select them all, hit J, and it'll bring up the color menu. I'm making mine a bit darker gray. You can make yours whatever you like. You hit enter, then you'd grab your fuselage, throw it back in, throw it back on, snap it in place. And the last thing we need to do is just clear the weapon errors, which is just assign them. Once the weapons are assigned, all errors are cleared, and we have the beautiful deadly Millennium Falcon ready to fly. And once it's built, it may look a little bit funny. And just quickly, when it is built, we would just have to walk up the ramp and hit board. So it'll look a little different to normal. And then since I've used the crimson habs, it looks freaking wild. And this is us inside the Millennium Falcon. How neat is that? And just in case you're wondering what the cockpit looks like, this is it right here. And we can decorate this bad boy as well. So we can add a few things in here. And to get out, we just walk through the passageway and it is all perfect. You will have a little door here depending on which hab and what you've done. Otherwise, everything else is as expected. Don't worry about the clipping or anything. You shouldn't fall through anything. Oh, what an incredible mod. And there we have it. Your Millennium Falcon ready to travel at warp speed. And doesn't it look absolutely stunning? If you found this guide helpful at all, do let me know in the comments. Any suggestions or anything at all, do consider liking and subscribing. I'll try to cover the other ships if I find that these are helpful for people. I'll leave you with some cool footage of the Millennium Falcon in action.